Good morning, everybody. This is Anthony with Deliver Capital. Oops, jumped the gun there. Today, we're going to be talking about our strategic partnership program, going through all the different steps and how we can make some great money together. Now, I got a question for you guys. How would you guys like to make the most amount of money in the least amount of time with the least amount of headache? By the end of this webinar, I'm going to go through and show you how we can increase your volume, build an organic referral system, increase the financing products in addition to merchant cash, and how we can revive lost leads and denied applications. Most importantly, how we can show you guys to make $1,000 to $10,000 per client, and of course our loyalty program and why you would want to come back. Throughout this presentation, if you have any questions, please write it in the queue in the chat box. Any questions you have, and at the very end, I'm going to answer them for you. So I think we all remember the credit crisis in 2008, right? Banking regulations made it very difficult for banks to compete and lend. Now, many households and small business owners ruined their credit, were denied the access to be able to get capital. Many of those who did get denied could have easily been approved with the right to compliance process and credit management. So we put together an element of optimizing their credit, getting into compliance, and getting them approved. I remember before the crisis, it was very easy for us to walk into a branch, have a two-year-old company, walk out with either $50,000 to $100,000, and it was just that easy. Unfortunately, it's a little bit harder these days to get approved. So who are we? So who's Deliver Capital? Deliver Capital is in the business of utilizing its tools and resources to help clients qualify for the right sustainable loan so you and your clients may be able to grow accordingly. We put together a team of bankers, underwriters, loan processors, analysts, compliance officers that can identify the right loan for either yourself or your clients, work on professional loan submissions to be able to get them approved. We have access to over 5,000 lenders where we give you, the best odds of getting approved. Now, as a performance-based company, you only pay if we execute. So there's zero risk for funding. We're so confident in our performance that we don't get paid unless we perform. We put together a very highly trained personnel with backgrounds in personal and commercial lending. And same question here is, how are we different from the most, right? What do we do differently than everybody else in the marketplace? And we're not here just to only sell merchant cash. It's not pretty much the primary tool. We work with all the different major tier 1 entities, all the national banks, credit unions. We'll dive deeper into that a little bit later. But if you get denied, we know exactly how to prep your file and how to overturn that to make you bankable. We know how to get around compliance issues. For example, UCCs, derogatories on personal credits. With our strategies, we can get you at least 3 times more in approvals than going directly to the bank. So how do we achieve better results? How do we make more money? And how do we get happier clients? The majority of small business owners do not understand how to structure their loan packages to properly present to a lender. With our team, the strategists, the processors, underwriters, we help correct these items before we go into submission. But unfortunately, a lot of business owners are forced to take high interest loans due to their personal and business credit discrepancies. And this is where we have our whole compliance department. We like to optimize their profiles, get them approved, and get them into tier 1 financing. Merchant cash is a very popular item these days, but unfortunately, it's not exactly in the best interest of the client. So how many people are very ecstatic when you give them a 1.2 to a 1.5 factor rate? This is where we like to get them qualified for more money with less interest, longer terms, and pretty much changing their outcome. Now, if you had, for an example, a $100,000 merchant cash loan, with a 1.3 factor, 6-month term, their daily repayment is going to be $1,031. If you calculate that on a monthly scale, it's going to be $21,000 versus a 7% 5-year term. The monthly payments, what, almost $2,000? You're saving that client $19,686. Now, how many people would you think that they would want to refer you, right? How many friends, family, coworkers? You know, the best business, in my opinion, is referrals. You have less work, more money, you have zero expenses acquiring that client. And this is diving a little bit deeper into some of our programs. We have over 5,000 lenders, right? We have major banks, credit unions, private lenders, equipment lenders, account receivable lenders, and alternative lenders. Now, some of the programs we offer from working capital, right? Let's just say it's about $100,000 per approval, unsecured term loans and lines of credit, 6 to 10% rates, 3 to 5 year terms. On average, turnaround times anywhere from 1 to 3 weeks. Surprisingly, you know, clients don't always have all their financials organized. Surprisingly, of course, but you know, through our research, we found a lot of flexible lenders who may not need to provide the full financials, streamlined, express, no doc entities. Yeah, every bank is very different. However, but if we are able to go full doc, there's a few great benefits from that. One, we can get higher loan amounts. We have more access to different lenders that we can accomplish. But it's all relative to the client's profile and what the current circumstances. All right, so these programs for like equipment lenders, we can go $250,000 per approval, application only, average of 5 to 10, 12% rates, 3 to 5 year terms, average of 2 to 14 days turnaround time. Now, with the credit card funding, this is something very unique, where you know sometimes clients and people don't have either they're over leveraged with their business credits, and you have too many merchant cash advancements, and there's no way to really get them additional money. Banks don't like to be in second position. So credit card funding really bypasses that, and sometimes it's a great tool to get them into the next stage or the next type of product. Okay, and I'll dive a little bit deeper in that in one of the next slides here. But you know, we like to utilize our relationships with our bankers. We get them anywhere from 30 to 150,000 in the cards. It's really based upon your personal credit is the main factor. 0%, the cards up to 18 months, 21 months worth of these terms. Account receivable financing is a great tool if you understand how to utilize it. So let's just say you have an account with Walmart, right? You sell widgets to Walmart. Walmart typically takes about 90 days for them to pay you, and once your widget has been sold. So this type of structure is very great for increasing cash flow. You can get about 97% of your invoice once you submit it. Great tool. Now, the bank statement loan is very similar to merchant cash. $500,000 as low as 500 FICO scores. Now, we like to utilize MCA not just as the final product, but as a stepping stone, right? Like a short-term bridge. So somebody who has maxed out personal credit, we like to utilize MCA, get them a loan, reinvest that money, put it back into their personal credit, reduce that utilization, get their credit score back up, any of the compliance work that needs to be done. Then we get them set up for tier 1 financing, right? It's not just the final element, but it is a great tool if you know how to use it properly. We also have a personal loan division where we can get somebody, $25,000 to $250,000 and more. Personal funding from 6 to 10% rates, 3 to 5 year terms, average 1 to 2 weeks. So there's a lot of different programs that we offer, and of course we can't list everything here, but that's what we pride our team with, right? We have a lender researcher role where if there's a unique situation of a client that needs to figure out a product or a qualification factors, because we have access to all these different lenders, it does make a difference for finding that solution. We're very persistent in solving it. So again, we're big on research, development, and up to date with all the new products and lending in the industry. So how do we get results? So we have very strong relationships with our lending partners. We've identified all the underwriting guidelines for every single program the bank offers, right? It took us years of research to compile this data and implement it into a program where we can take a look at the profile and say, okay, this is going to be a great fit for X, Y, and Z bank. Right? We like to always pre-evaluate the deals before submission. This is where we have our bankers will say, you know, this is the profile, this is the situation, this is the personal credit, business credit, and financials. You know, do we think this is going to work? And sometimes, you know, a lot of times the bankers will give us their feedback on what we can do to correct it before we submit. Very, very powerful. And because we send so much business to them, we get, you know, we have a lot of exceptions that the banks provide us, right? They like to push our deals because, you know, banks make money if you send them business, right? It's a circle of trust here. So we're very big on problem solving, right? And we'll take a look at somebody's profile, and so we have short to medium term strategies that can enable the client to get more and better solutions. Of course, with time, as I described to you an example before, stepping stone theory. You know, I'll give you an example real quick of a previous client that we've recently helped. Now, he had, I think, about 3 or 4 merchant cash advancement. And that's the challenge with these MCAs, is that they'll go until second, third, fourth, fifth. I've even seen as far as 13 positions with merchant cash, right? As long as there's something there to protect them, they'll issue you some money. Now, the challenge is that once you're over leveraged, it becomes very difficult for you to get tier 1 financing, where banks don't like to be in second position. So to solve this person's you know, equation, we got them into some credit card fundings. We're getting them some approvals from the credit card aspect. We're going to take that money and pay off some of these merchant cash, reduce their leverage, get their credit and business credit optimized. Now we can then set them up and get them into a tier 1 product, right? So sometimes in the compliance aspect, we have a strategy that we'll compile, and it might take, you know, 1 or 2, 3 steps. However, but it's in the best interest of the client to get out of these MCAs, as you know, it's the recipe for bankruptcy, quite honestly. Now, if you do have your merchant cash or just any type of lender, any type of prospect out there, we have a full-on compliance department where we want to analyze and get those results back to you as soon as possible. So we'll look at a file, and either they're going to fall into 3 different buckets. Okay, so when you send the application, all we need is an application and a credit report. And through that data, I'm able to tell you exactly, like, you know, kind of like a pre-approval stage, where either they're qualified, they're ready to go, we can get them funded within probably 1 to 2, 3 weeks. There is a second bucket where, you know, there might be some discrepancies on, you know, personal credits or business credits or something in the financials, but we'll take on that file. We say, okay, well, this is something that's doable. We'll take it on. Could take, you know, 2 weeks to fix. Could take, you know, 3, 4 weeks to fix. But the element here is that you're always building a pipeline, right? And the more output you put, the more of the better results you're going to come with once we've worked on getting the prospect, you know, cleaned up and at least to the minimum of an approval for submission. The third bucket is denial, right? Sometimes they're just, you know, they don't make enough money, or the credit is too short. It's going to take too much work for us to be able to get them approved. Because we are performance-based, you know, time is money, and of course, we don't like to waste time. So those are pretty much the 3 buckets that we will look at. Now, so what do we look for? Some general guidelines for business owners or even personal funding for the criteria that what we would like to see. You know, anywhere from 660 to 680 FICOs. Of course, if you have somebody at a 660 and there's small different tweaks that we can look at that to get them above the 700 range, it's going to be in the best interest of the client, because there's a big difference between getting an approval at a 6% interest rate unsecured versus a 12 or 13% just because your credit score is a little bit lower, right? So that does save the client a lot of money. So if we are able to uh, take them into compliance aspect, reduce some debt, remove some inquiries, anything that we analyze and suggestions, it could work for that. But we like to see at least some strength to the personal credit. It's not just about your personal credit score. So we'd like to see a minimum of 4 trade lines, at least $5,000 in per trade, minimum of a $15,000 to $20,000 in installment. Like to see a minimum of $40,000 in total, seasoned for at least 2 years, maximum credit utilization of 30%, and of course, no major delinquencies. Now, this is not set in stone, right? It's subjective. Sometimes you have your personal credit on on the borderline, but you have very strong business credit, you have very strong financials. It's the full overall picture that matters. Okay, and so there's certain exceptions that we can do, and this is why we work with our bankers. We'll look at the profile, look at the strengths and the weaknesses, and then we'll try to see and get exceptions to be able to push the file forward, right? The faster we submit, the faster we all get compensated for our efforts. Now, business credit, we like to see at least $25,000 in business and financial trades, no major delinquencies. Prefer a Duns & Bradstreet paydex score established, if anything. Prefer no existing UCCs. A UCC1 is one of the deadliest ones where they blanket all the different assets for a client. So if possible, we can restructure, consolidate, pay off the old UCCs through the new efforts of the new loans, the tier 1 entities. But there are exceptions to the rule, just like anything else, right? Equipment is not very heavily looked at as if you had a working capital UCC, because it's collateralized with a piece of equipment that they look at. So financials, look at the last 2 years personal and business tax returns, year-to-date financials, 4 months bank statements. So again, depending on the product and the strategy for how we proceed, but this is a general background for what we would like to see from you guys. So if you guys don't, if the client doesn't qualify, what do we do? Right? So we have ways of overturning and fixing this process. We have overturning unqualified prospects. We have a whole credit management department. We're very big on education. We provide that recipe how to get to an 800 FICO. A lot of education and coaching that is involved with this. We have credit processors that can fix certain discrepancies in as fast as 2 to 8 weeks, including bankruptcies, collections, charge-offs. I think our fastest turnaround time for removing inquiries was 24 hours at one point. So very, very powerful. We've paired up with the best in the industry, and it all makes a very huge difference between making or breaking, or actually helping that client getting approved. Credit is actually one of the biggest foundation of almost anything in your lives, right? That's revolves so much around personal credit these days. We also have credit enhancements capabilities where we can add trade lines to boost up your score. Every account that we add can boost up your score on average of 5 to 20 points. Your credit is a mathematical equation, so when we look at it, we can suggest adding 1, 2. There's different accounts and primaries and authorized users that we help and suggest to be able to get the outcome that we're looking for. We also have a very strong business credit building program where we can get trade lines established within as fast as 30 to 60 days, from Equifax, Experian, Small Business Financial Exchange, SBFE, Duns & Bradstreet. PayNet is mainly meant for equipment. So looking at the formula and being able to help the client establishing the missing pieces so that they can get qualified, this is what we specialize in, right? This makes it very unique in the industry. We do take the time to be able to help and get that client approved. So we do give you more than what you ask for. Right? We can overachieve your client's targets so they can get better options for themselves. We'd like to get them either one approval or multiple. The client can choose to accept one or all. It just depends on what the client's objective is and their target, but we give that option to the client on what they will not accept. Now we can monetize your current and past relationships. Okay, so if you are able to, let's just say for an example, you have a book of business, and the last 2-3 months you weren't able to place your client with the right loan. A lot of people in the merchant cash industry, as I've been finding very recently, that you'll have a client with a 750 FICO and makes $1 million a year, and that does qualify for those tier one products. But unfortunately, you don't have that channel to be able to help that client out. You have to put them in some type of merchant cash 1.15, 1.2, factor 6 to 12 month term. That's not doing justice for that particular client, right? How many people in the merchant cash advance, how many times do you guys get referrals from the people that you've sold in merchant cash, right? That's one of the main objectives that I wanted to change, is providing that particular that channel and that resource for you guys to move forward. So if you can go back to the last 2-3 months of all the prospects that you've dealt with, and if you've organized their emails or their phone numbers, you give them a call and say, hey, how would you like to qualify for $50,000 to $150,000 right away with a 6, 7, 8% interest rate, 5-year term? How many people do you think are going to say no to that? So this is something that we can help you out with. We're very proficient in monetizing and reviving certain prospects there. Now, the jack of all trades and the master of none. I love that saying, right? So we definitely want you to focus on what you do best, right? The recipe for success. Well, I've set up the company so that, working and empowering you guys with all the tools and the resources to give you that support system of us mapping out what the years of research that we have compiled with the right team and the right strategies. I've been doing this for 15 years. And so I've reviewed over 15,000 credit files. I can look at something in a matter of a minute and say, okay, this is what we need to do. But it's all a team effort, right? We need you guys just as much as you need us, right? It's a whole team. This is how we make the recipe for success. All right. So if you guys bring your clients any scenarios or any prospects, and we work together, we'll be able to get those solutions done as soon as possible. And of course, we want you guys to be your own boss, right? That's just why we have a support system, part of a bigger organization versus being by yourself. Now, here's some things that we won't accept, right? Unapprovable clients, certain, people who have been shopped around a whole bunch of times, low quality. These are certain elements that we look at. Time is money, and what you focus on is what you're going to get. All right. And a lot of people sometimes come up to us with shady business practices, shell companies, fraudulent papers. We are able to catch that. We have tools and resources to be able to look at that. We do not want to ruin our relationships with our bankers, because if anybody does default, it does come back to the referral source and things of that nature. And so we want to be able to have good, clean business, good referrals, and make sure that we have the right expectations. Okay, you don't want to tell somebody you're going to get them, $1 million, and then they come through and it's not what they're expecting. We definitely want to have those great business practices. We're very morally and ethically tuned to be able to get and help out the client and help out yourself. How do we make the most amount of money in the least amount of time with the least amount of headache? This is definitely one of those recipes. All right, now here's the good part here. How do we make money all together? So there's two different types of partnerships, I guess you want to say. One is an affiliate. If you're very heavy in marketing and you have the ability to bring in qualified prospects, but you don't want to be doing the consultation side or talking with the client. So if you are simply referring that client of us, through us, whatever we sell, we're going to give you a percent of the amount of what they qualify for. So if it's $200,000 in approvals, we get 1%. It's a pretty decent payday for that particular lead from it, right? $2,000. Now, the ISO partnerships, this is where we are working together. Responsibilities that we're going to work on empowering you to be able to sell to the client, gathering the initial requested documents for the front end. At this particular stage, once you're approved with us, we're going to give you a buy rate, right? A buy rate is 10%, where you get all the fees above that. So typically we sell anywhere from 12 to 15% on average. We carry the cost of handling the file until funded, right? We also have a loyalty program where the more time that you're with us and the more that we fund together, we say, well, might as well compensate you, right? Reduce our particular buy rate. We're going to go ahead and get into that in the next slide. So this is a general example of how we make money, right? So it'll just say that there was no loyalty program established here, and you just want, the basis here. We have 10%. This is calculated on a 14% total gross fees, which then means that 4% comes back to our partner. So let's just say that right here, the deal funded 75,000, 225,000. This is examples of numbers on how you guys would make money. So if broker fee would be 3,000, 9,000, 12,000, 16,000, et cetera. Okay, there's a little more examples here for that. Now, the total brokers, you can see that if we fund, the more you fund, the more that you guys can make, from $40,000 commissions, from 80 to 120. This is what we'll look at. So broker fees per deal. Now, this is where we are getting into the loyalty program. So we said, okay, well, if for every million that we fund, we're going to roll back and give you guys a 0.5%, discount for the buy rate, which then locks it in between any future deals. So once you hit $1 million, we're going to kick you back another $5,000 bonus, in addition to the whatever the fees are that you sell on top of the 10%. So now when you hit $1 million, you're going to hit a 9.5%, right, the silver package, where allowing you to increase your revenue, increase your margins, and as we're moving forward, you have more time, we can reduce those particular buy rates that we have here. So once you hit the silver, it's a 9.5%. When you're at gold, we reduce it to 9%. And once you hit the platinum, it's going to be 8.5%. All right. So for every $1 million, we're going to reduce it, so increasing it by until about 8.5. So decrease by time, cash back at the end of each tier. So every $1 million, we're going to kick you back a bonus. This is kind of putting it all together. So if a deal is funded from 75,000 all the way to the $1 million, broker's fee will be about 16,000. We'll kick you back an additional 5. Now we have recalculated retroactive, and now it's 9.5% buy rate. So this is where, in the very end, total funds and current tiers, calculating over 14%. So everything we just described. Now we can go ahead and send this out to you guys, later on as an example if you have any questions after. But it's a great way for us to make money together, provide a great service to the client. Moving forward. So we have, we're the partners that you're looking for. So we had the ability to structure, fix, enhance, and execute the loans submission successfully. We provide training on how you can build a strong book of business. We coach clients and partners on how to increase their credit scores within 30 to 60 days on average. We've mapped out hundreds of different banks with personal relationships and all their underwriting guidelines. We've pre-established these strong relationships with all these high-profile bankers. We take the back-end burden away from you. It's a turnkey system. Always best to be part of a well-organized and established, entity. We want to be able to free up your time. we understand the recipe for success, and the more that we can take our time and empower you guys to bring, very very well qualified and good prospects, as a ISO partnerships, we have that particular ability to coach and bring in and zero in on that level. Hence why we put such an amazing team together for Deliver Capital, to be able to really identify these strengths and these weaknesses, gathering all the different information so we can submit to the right partner. So in order to work with us, we would just need to have, we're going to send you guys out an ISO application, just the basics of the information that we need. From that, we'll create a partnership agreement. We have a contract that we'll send out. Let's get everything formalized, get all that stuff out of the way. At that point, I will be hosting a lot of different training, webinars, coaching videos, sales scripts. My scripts that I have developed honestly, we have maybe about a 60 to about a 70-80% closing ratio with the way we've developed, the flow of the conversation, and how we ask the right questions to identify, the strengths and the weaknesses of a client or prospective prospect here. So I want to be teaching that throughout our partnership together, so that we can, empower you to be able to bring and sell those right clients. So a whole bunch of the forms that we're going to provide you, templates, guided entities that's going to give us information that we need. We'll be supplying you guys with marketing flyers and email templates, and much, much more, right? The whole concept here is that if you're a partner with us, what can we do to empower you to bring those right files? So if you're new to this webinar, if you were invited by somebody else, by all means, please provide us with your name, your email, and your phone in the chat, or you can go to delivercapital.com/partners for any information. Once we get your information to our system, we'll be able to send out the ISO application. All right, so all we need from you guys. So if you have prospects right now sitting in your bank, you're like, Anthony, I got 10 people and I need to be able to place them. Do they qualify for Tier 1 financing? All I need is our form of application. Just gives us the basic information from where I don't need to see all the financials, etc. Just the data on the application from their financials, who they are, how long they've been in business, and a copy of their credit report. And I'll have a response back to you within 24 hours and let you know if it's going to be in 1 to 3 buckets, right? Are they approved, ready to go? Let's go ahead and move forward. We need a little bit of compliance work. Let's optimize X, Y, and Z, and then they're going to be qualified for those amazing rates. And pretty much denied, saying, sorry, this is going to be a very hard process to do. A lot of times, even for those denials, I'll provide a solution or a strategy for what needs to happen. But those are pretty much the 3 buckets that we look at. Now, by all means, give us a call anytime at 1-800-311-9894. If you want to email us directly, partners@delivercapital.com. And please let me know if you have any questions here. All right. I wanted to thank you guys again for taking the time on listening to me speak. But how successful is personal loan programs? Very, very successful. So we've mapped out, all the different banks and which credit bureau pulls, which bank pulls which credit bureaus. And so understanding the client's profile, of course, what personal funding is more based on their, if they're a W-2 employee, or if you are self-employed, the amount, just very similar to your debt to income, your personal credits and your income is written the main factors. But very, very successful. And I think at one point we were able to get somebody about $300,000-$400,000 for personal funding. So it's an art by itself. We have a great team to get that done. All right. Any more questions? Are there certain types of businesses that are low-hanging fruit? I would say yes. I love to work with professionals, dentists, doctors, uh, lawyers. I think for the merchant cash world, that's kind of one of the big no-nos, or not too many people work with that. Our banks love professionals. They're considered low risk. I've been able to get certain things approved that no other regular business owner has would be qualified for, right? So just somebody who's out of, I'll give you an example. Somebody who was just out of college and they just got that certificate of I'm now a professional, a doctor, lawyer, dentist, etc. I can get that person about $500,000 by incorporating on the second, incorporating day one. Very, very powerful. So there is other types of, the formula is very much the same for any of the type of low-hanging fruit for those industries, but professionals are definitely one of the ones that comes to my mind. Can they purchase trade lines and get funded? It is, look, everything is a formula, right? We look at your personal, what I call the 3 financial pillars: your personal credit, business credit, and your financials. And depending on the health of each one of these pillars, it's going to dictate what I can and cannot do. Purchasing, trade lines is not going to be the only answer or the solution for that. It's depending on, of course, you have 2 different types. You have authorized users and you have primary accounts. Banks like to see at least 4 primaries with age for 2 years, of course, with some strength. And so just providing an authorized user where you're piggybacking off of somebody else's account is not going to be the same recipe for being able to get qualified. There are certain exceptions to the rule, of course, but it is it's subjective. My best suggestion is just provide us with a copy of the report, and I can tell you immediately what we can and cannot do. So what is the procedure to run credit on a potential client? Great question. I prefer to have them sign up with Experian.com. It's free for 30 days. Provides us all 3 credit bureaus. It's a soft inquiry. It's not going to affect the client's personal credit report. So if you can just provide us with the logins or a copy of all 3, that'll be sufficient for us. How much is the business credit building program plan for the ISOs? This is depending on, of course, the client's request. If they are going for maybe $50,000 or $100,000 or $200,000 worth of trades, we can if you want, email us and we'll talk about exactly the plan. There's subjective, of course, on what the client is needing and the amount that they're asking for. What is the payout? Well, payout is, for an example, if we have our 10% buy rate and we work together on the file and you want to sell it at 15%. Therefore, the gross fees is 15, we take 10, you take 5. And if you sell somebody with a $200,000, let's just say we're currently averaging anywhere from $100,000 to $300,000 in approvals for our clients with the way we structure it. So let's just say the average of there is $200,000, and you have a 5% gross, 5% commission structure built into this. Therefore, you're getting about $10,000 for that client. And this is what we're averaging per approval is $100,000 to $300,000. So you can do the math as far as how many clients is it going to take for you to hit a platinum status, decrease our buy rate, and you make money as we move out. Do we have a system to get docs online like the mortgage industry? Yes, we are. We're in a current development to have a broker portal where we can organize and map everything out. We're going to have all the training videos. I'm creating a whole bunch of scripts and videos and how-tos, lead generation strategies. All that's going to be embedded within the portal. It should be up very momentarily, but there is a way for us to track the system as we're moving forward. Will they be trained? Will you be trained when docs require specific types of loans and the required lines of credit to be filled in? Yes, yes. I've already created a bunch of training videos on how to speak to the client, the documents, what they mean. Look, I'm very big on education, and the more information I can put out and help you with with a with bringing in the right quality files. You know, so if you know what you're asking for and you know how to deliver it, it works all the way around, correct? And there's a whole bunch of sales psychologies, and I've studied this for the last 15 years on really how to build major rapport with the client, and the questions that you ask makes all the difference in the world when you're speaking with somebody. And of course, you need to know at least a high level of what you're selling or what offering that you're providing. And so putting that all together with some experience is what makes it a very powerful opportunity. Is there a particular industry that you won't touch or prefer to be avoid? That is a good question, and because we have a lender researcher department where we've mapped out about 100 to 150 different lenders right now, exactly every program that they provide, all the the Bank of Americas, the Wells Fargos, the Citizens banks of the world. We know exactly what their product is and what they like and what they don't like. However, those unique scenarios are, there is a solution for it, and we haven't come across a lot of entities that we can't touch. And so we'll do a little bit of research and we'll find out what the solution is. But if it can't be done, trust me, we'll let you guys know right away. What are the steps for funding after approval? I'm not sure I understand that. If they have an approval, pretty much they're ready to go. It's the clients would work with the bank. Let's just say the Bank of America, for an example. Once they have an approval, pretty much the underwriter has reviewed all the documents. They say, hey, I like this package, approve it, and then within a few days later, they sign documents and they're ready to go. Very different from the merchant cash element. Will we have a CRM to track all of our clients? There is. We don't provide as of right now, we don't have a CRM to issue like a license. We have our internal CRM that is made for the loan industry, but as of right now, we don't have one to provide you guys. We are working on some additional solutions, a way of tracking all the clients, through the broker portal that we are developing. There will be a list of all the clients and the statuses of each one moving forward. We already forwarded our W-9 and ISOP application was the next step to get running with you guys. Let's, if you've already signed up, I think it's, we can set up a call to look at the next steps. If you have any clients that you currently have in your prospecting list, by all means, just send us the copy of the application, have them fill it out, copy of either you prefer the credit logins, because the way we analyze is it's much faster than just looking at a PDF copy. But all we need right now, just to give you that, the 3 buckets, is the application and credit report. That's all we need. Zoho has a free CRM. Yes, there's a lot of different CRMs. I think there's one called HubSpot, Zoho. These are all different ways of managing your pipeline. And I think honestly, a lot of, I like technology, and technology is, I think, is, it's a pain in the butt to deal with in the very beginning, but once you set it up, it helps dramatically between the the process over here. And we do have a partner that is able to, we partnered up with somebody that can help you with your websites. If you want something that's inexpensive, great, professional, they have these templates and these ways of customizing your elements. And of course, Every prospect and lead should always come to either a landing page or a website for, for the professionality of exposure for who you are. And then the CRM should always be connected to that, so that when they submit their information, hey, I'm interested in this particular product, it starts the process, right? You want to be able to organize it. When you have 5 or 10 clients, you can manage it on a spreadsheet. But when you start scaling, you need some type of system to manage all that. Okay, and we'll be doing a talk later on about CRMs and lead generation. So if you sign up as a partner with us, we'll definitely coach you on some of the strategies of that. Any consumer financing loans for the retail and service industry? Consumer financing loans for the retail and service industry. I don't know what you mean by that. Is that like personal loans for the retail and service industry? Maybe if you can clarify a little bit more of what you mean by that. All righty, guys. Well, I wanted to thank you guys for attending the webinar, and it's been, what are the requirements? Sorry, one more last question. What are the requirements for credit card funding programs? Very similar to what I described in the presentation, usually around a minimum of around 660 to 680. Of course, if we can get them higher by utilizing some compliance work if needed, but having a decent amount of trade lines will dictate, of course, the amount of approvals that you get. So for an example, really quickly, if you have an average of $20,000 in credit card limits on your credit versus somebody who has an average of $3,000, when you go and apply for a credit card, typically they're going to give you the average of what your current, your average of your limits are. Now, the way we structure and why we utilize our bankers is how we provide a story of, the progression and the income. We're able to embed that within that. So you have a human person being able to work and having a little bit of an influence of the approval and the outcome versus an automated approval from a computer system with an algorithm that they have embedded. So a little bit of a difference there, but 660, 680 FICO, you could do personal or business, cards. So those are pretty much the main factors over there. Alrighty, guys, thank you so much for attending. Please stay tuned. Provide us with your applications. We'll give you access to all additional training materials that we have put together. And looking forward to meeting you guys and speaking and working together. Have a wonderful day, and God bless.